Hey guys, Jim here. I want to talk to you about another knife that seems to be running in the vein of what I've been uploading in the past couple of weeks, which is stuff that is generally more affordable. And that's not really the direction my collection is heading. Actually, quite the opposite. I'm going into more expensive stuff than I've ever bought in the past. But one of the things that I truly appreciate is getting into a really well-built, quality, robust knife that has all the good materials that we're looking for. 6AL4V titanium, nice bearing system for smooth action on a flipper, premium steels like the one we're going to talk about here, and not break the bank. And what we're going to look at today is the Ferrum Forge Ferox, which is a newer model by Elliott Williamson. And if you guys aren't following, by the way, if you're not following Ferrum Forge on YouTube, you absolutely need to. They haven't been uploading a lot of stuff lately, but even going back in their older stuff, not only will you be thoroughly entertained, you will most assuredly learn at least one new word. Because Elliott is like a walking dictionary. And I think he has one of those little desk calendars where you tear it away every day and there's a new word every day. I'm pretty sure that's how he lives his life. But no, he's a super educated guy, and he loves to teach people while he's talking about the knives that he's building. And if you go back way back in my channel, you'll see plenty of videos about the knives that he's made for me. Most notably probably is my Pretium, which he made for me as a one-off. You have to excuse me, it's a little dirty. And I still own it to this day, still love it, still carry it, still truly amazing. And I think that this is really on par with what I have here, which would be to say superior to the original Pretium. Going back in history, Elliott is a custom knife maker who literally makes custom knives. Like, you can draw some shit on a napkin and go, here, make this for me, and he will actually make that for you. And that's not something that you really hear about too often anymore. And what he decided to do about a year and a half ago was to create a mid-tech series of knives, and that was the Pretium. He made 100 of them, and that was it. And it was a very long, slow process because it was the first time that he had, jumped into that arena. And with Elliott, he really wants everything to be as perfect as he can. So he did more handwork on the Pretium than a mid-tech should ever hope to ever have. What we're looking at here is really all of the knowledge that he's gained in business, in knife making, and in producing series of knives over that past year is really sitting right here in front of me. And I really think it shows growth for Elliott as a person and for Ferrum Forge as a business. What you're looking at here is a 3.5-inch blade, and it's just under 8.5 inches overall. If you'll notice, most of Elliott's knives, he likes to give you a little more handle in your blade to handle ratio. He wants to be able to really get a nice, good, firm grip on it. Everything he does for a reason, and sometimes those reasons aren't apparent. They're not obvious when you first look at the knife, and it really takes some dissection to figure that out, and probably most notably his flipper tabs. If you look at the majority of Elliott's flipper designs, you'll notice really, really, really large flipper tabs, and you'll see that one is just about as big as the one on my Pretium. He does this for the fact that he doesn't know every individual that's going to own his knives. He isn't sitting there measuring their hands. He doesn't know how everybody flips. Some people like to light switch. Some people like to push button. And this gives equal opportunity. You can push button it all you want, and Jesus, that's fast. Let's talk about how fast that is for a second. Let's see what I have in my pocket. All right. Here's a good comparison. That is a couple $1,000 GTC. That is a $500 Ferox. Let's do that again, and really note the speed here. So there is a reason that he does his flipper tabs the way he does. So if I pick up this knife and I choose to light switch it, Joe Blow comes up and he only push buttons. Somebody with a smaller hand that's got a little bit harder of a reach, or a big giant hand, it doesn't matter. It's like the universal flipper tab. It's something that should work well for pretty much everybody. So what we're looking at here is as much titanium as could be put on the knife that could be afforded to allow Elliot to still come out at a $500 price point. So obviously both of your slabs are done in 6AL4V titanium. He's done a really nice job creating a little bit of a pattern here, milling a little bit of this out, putting the Ferrum Forge logo in there. For those that have never really dissected the logo and looked at it, there's two F's here. People just don't seem to see those. They go KW. I don't get what the fuck is KW? It's Ferrum Forge Knife Works, and that's how the logo comes together. So you've got the lock side, the presentation side, in a really, really nice matte finish, then stone wash. They bead blasted it and then a really nice stone wash on it. So it should hide normal everyday wear. You have a titanium Stephen Kelly pivot, which looks really nice. He did a nice blue anno on there. And you have titanium standoffs and a titanium spring clip. So instead of going cheap and putting steel barrels in here, stamped steel clip here, he really put in a lot of effort. You'll also notice something else, and this, if you take a good look at my Pretium, you'll see something similar, except mine's opposite. A lot of people commented on my zirconium pivot on this particular knife and the fact that you only need to adjust here. You don't need anything to hold it in place when you're screwing it down. Same thing here. Now on the presentation side, you have the nice looking titanium Steve Kelly pivot. And on this side, just a little nub, a little nipple if you will. Actually does have like a little nipple on it. I wonder if that's molded after Elliot's own nipple. I'll have to ask him that one day. Anyway, so all you do is you make your simple adjustment here, and he's built this in a fashion inside the frame where it won't allow the screw to turn at all. So your only position point is right here. Very thick stop pin being used here. He does prefer to use exposed stop pins. I think he has done plenty with internal stop pins. I really don't know. But I know the knives that I've gotten from him have always been external stop pins. All the way around, everything has been smoothed out, rounded, contoured, very comfortable in the hand. For me personally, wearing a size large glove, this is a perfect size for me. It drops right into my hand. There's a little bit of a dip right here to kind of allow your thumb to drop in. Very effective jimping on a raised thumb ramp. And, of course, for those of you doing more precision work, you could choke right up there in that very, very large choil. Even if you're wearing gloves, you're probably not going to encounter hitting any of the cutting edge with your finger with the glove. And he also does put a little sway back in there, let you drop your thumb in there. It's nice and comfortable. And like I said, it's easy to use, it's easy to carry, and really, for what you're getting, it's easy to afford. A couple other little tricks that I love is the fact that he does incorporate steel lock bar inserts into all of his folders now, and that does allow for steel to steel engagement instead of titanium to steel. Titanium being softer can wear down a lot more quickly, and that lock bar starts pushing over and over and over until you finally get to 100%. You know, and that could be a year, that could be 100 years from the time that you get it. You never really know. But with a steel to steel engagement, it's certainly a lot tougher. He's also done a unique lock bar cut out here. It's not simple, basic, just a straight old cut and then an intersecting cut here. Nicely done. Nice clean lines throughout. And I think this is going to give knife modifiers a nice little blank canvas. You can do different finishes. You could do like a satin finish across here and leave this matte, or opposite. Do that in satin, leave that in matte. Maybe do anno work in here. You could really spice this knife up a lot. Remember, you're only spending $500, which would be the cost of a premium production knife. And there's obviously a handful of mid-techs out there that are in that same price range. And this gives you a lot of room to work with it. Now, again, speaking back to value, so you've got a ton of titanium components in here. But let's talk about that steel. When we talk about steel, what really separates a quality knife from a shit knife is going to be the quality of that edge. It's going to be the longevity of that edge and the toughness of that edge. And in this price range, you expect S35VN, which is a great steel, CPM 154, great steel. but they're not going to give you a tremendously long edge retention. They're not as wear resistant as some of the more super steels out there like S90V and CPM 3V. Well, this even takes it a step further. What you're getting in the Ferox is CPM 4V. Now, what you're going to gain out of that is a little more edge retention, a little more wear resistance over 3V. A lot of us that have owned overbuilt knives over the past few years, whether they be Holbachs or any other number of makers out there. Another one that I loved was Direware. 3V has been very, very popular with some of those makers because they're making a big, giant tank-like knife, and they want to prove to you that it can handle anything you can throw at it. And 3V is a fantastic steel. Well, 4V takes it one step further. You get a little more wear resistance on that edge, which means to you fewer times you're going to have to strop it, and there will be a longer duration in between sharpenings. So your average person may not have to sharpen this but every couple of years. Somebody that's really working with the knife, you're still going to sharpen this thing probably half as many times as your standard knives with CPM 154 or S35 VN, or again, all great steels. Not knocking them, nothing wrong with them. But there is going to be that level of hierarchy, that superiority as you go up in price. And typically, you're not going to pay $500 for an all-titanium frame lock with titanium hardware. The only hardware that is not are what's holding the standoffs and the stop pin. Those are steel. Everything else on this knife is titanium. And to get 4V. And to get a nice dual-tone finish. So once again, bead blasted, stone washed, and then a nice clean machine satin across the flats. So for me, what this knife represents is value and performance. So now I've got a knife with a blade shape that I'm going to honestly feel I can do pretty much any utilitarian task. I feel I have a steel that is going to be corrosive resistant enough that I don't have to worry about it too much. I'm still going to use my Aegis EDC ice solution. I use that on everything, so it doesn't really matter so much to me, but it is a concern for many people. And it's going to give me a long-lasting edge that I'm not going to have to touch up and maintain as often as maybe certain other knives that I may own. And I've got knives that cost 5 times this much with a steel that is not this good. So when you think about value, when you think about performance, and you think about the time that Elliot has taken to perfect everything from his detent, which, by the way, I did neglect to mention, he does prefer, and he uses it here, he does prefer to use the Holbach roller detent. So you're reducing friction on the blade as the lock bar is engaging that blade. Because remember, the whole time that this blade is opening and closing, that lock bar is applying pressure. And when you have the rolling detent, it doesn't matter what this material is. It could be SM100, it could be Damascus, it could be anything with a rough surface. That roller detent is going to make everything operate more smoothly, because you don't just have a steel ball sitting stationary rubbing up against the frame. The ball is actually rolling and rolling across that surface. Every little thing has been thought out here. There are no sharp edges when you go to engage that lock bar. No sharp edges. When you're holding the knife, it fits well in the hand. And it's still a slab-sided knife. It's not a fully contoured knife. So you've got a knife that really locks in, and when you hammer down on it, it's not going to torque and twist in your hand if you're doing hard work. This, in my opinion, is not a showy knife. This is a hard work kind of knife. This is that guy that says, I don't really care so much about how a knife looks. If it looks great, that's wonderful, but I need it to perform. I need to be able to hammer on this thing all day on the job site. This is the kind of knife you're going to reach for. But you've got all premium materials. You've got hand fitting, hand set detent, hand set lock. The edge is done by hand. Everything is done by hand. So you've got a knife here that has almost the prestige of a custom knife. You certainly have the quality there, but it's not one that you're afraid of beating up on. Now, I don't want to say that $500 is particularly cheap for most people, but if you're collecting at a level that a lot of you guys are that are watching my videos, your collections rival mine. Many of your collections make mine look like, like I'm a fucking idiot. there are guys out there that can spend 10 times the amount of money on a knife that I can. So for those that are looking into premium higher end knives that also want value, $500 is a really, really, really nice price. Again, especially factoring in everything that you're getting. Great performance all the way around. Nice detent. Not overly strong, but as you saw, it just rockets right out of the frame. So overall, I think Elliott has a winner here. I think it's a fantastic knife, something that I'm certainly going to enjoy carrying the shit out of, and every bit as much as my Pretium. Damn, this man can make a hell of a flipper, can he? Unbelievable. And this was a year. This was delivered to me almost a year ago this week. It was right around the holidays. These were in development beginning back over a year and a half ago. And this is the level of product that he's producing now at a far lesser price. The original Pretiums, I want to say they were $485-ish. Mine was, double that price because of all the work that he custom did for me on mine. So I look at this and go, holy shit, this is a knife that's every bit as good as that for about half the price that my Pretium would have been. Elliott, you've come a long way, buddy. I'm super proud of you. I'm super proud of watching all the projects that you have going. You guys need to follow him on Instagram. It should be Ferrum Forge KW. Should be at Ferrum Forge KW if I'm not mistaken. I will put it in the description if I'm wrong. And look at the stuff that he's doing. Look at the renderings, the pictures, the prototypes, the things that he has coming. 2015 is going to be a monstrous year for those guys. They're going to be putting out some gorgeous designs, some that are less utilitarian looking. And there are some people that go, well, I keep hearing Elliott's work is great and his edges are phenomenal and they function wonderfully and this and that, but they don't really sing to me visually. They're very utilitarian looking. They got big goofy flipper tabs and they're not sprinkled in fairy dust and unicorn feces. The thing is, it's not always about looks, but Elliott, too, is also evolving in that way so that you're always going to get a utilitarian knife. You're never going to buy a knife from Elliott and go, well, shit, that's not useful for cutting. Yeah, actually, it always will be. But he is evolving now into some really cool designs that, mirror a little bit what he's done in custom making. So you're going to see some really cool stuff coming out. He just announced one or two collaborations. I know he just did one with Leon Ma that looks really fantastic. Keep an eye on these guys. They're not always going to be this modestly priced, but that's what they're shooting for. There are going to be production level knives, I shouldn't even say production, mid-tech level knives that they're able to make large series of and keep the prices down because it is a larger run. But you're going to also see a lot of really premium mid-techs with smaller runs that are going to be $800, probably to $1,000, that are going to blow your mind. And then, of course, if you don't mind waiting, you could always try and butter him up and get on his custom list and make the knife of your dreams. That's entirely up to you. You're going to be waiting a long time. You'll probably be using a walker by the time you get it. But hey, you know what? It'll be worth it. I don't know, you get in a car accident, you got to cut yourself free from the seatbelt and your colostomy bag is wrapped up around your child's head or something. At that age, you have to worry about those things. But if you want to get something a lot sooner that Elliott is involved in, check out his mid-tech runs. I do know they still have some Ferox left. And if you go to bladehq.com, they usually have a few in stock. There are a few dealers that have them. So if you contact Elliott, if you go to Ferrum Forge's website and they're out of them for some reason, definitely check Blade HQ first and just ask Elliott, hey, who else is carrying them? Because he has a lot of dealers. I know Steel Addiction, Dave Stark, super phenomenal individual. He carries a lot of Elliott's work as well. So you'll definitely be able to find him. For now, guys, I'm out of here, and I will see you on the next video.